how you can encourage your team to utilize AI and remove bottlenecks. Let's get into it. This is how I flipped my own AI blind spot into a competitive edge. This is a story about discovering, real bottlenecks in AI adoption and how fixing it transformed my team's performance in 60 days. Just even 6 months ago, I blame my team and I was looking for answers of being just slow on AI, specifically after I found out what I could do with it, what anybody could do with it to shore up some manual processes and really get efficient and get more optimized for my team. I told my peers in leadership meetings, the problem is getting people to actually use these tools. But you know what? As I went on, I was embarrassingly wrong. And the problem was not my team. The problem was me, and I had no idea. McKinsey data shows, though, for C-suite executives are 2 times as likely to blame employee readiness for AI failures as they are to examine their own leadership. Meanwhile, employees say, "We're ready. We're just waiting on you." Today, I am sharing exactly how I discovered my own AI blind spot, what it cost me and my team, and the simple shift that I turned to my biggest competitive advantage as a leader, and how you can implement that same sort of within your own team. So the setup: when enthusiasm isn't enough, when you're the cheerleader and you're doing everything that you can, and that still isn't working to try and get this through. So I myself run a very competitive program at work. I work in supply chain, sales, marketing. I do board presentations, all in the Midwest at a $1 billion company. 18 months ago, AI tools dropped and I was hooked. ChatGPT, Claude, automation tools. I felt like I'd unlocked a cheat code for work. I assumed my team would feel the same way. I started sharing the tools, sending links, definitely mentioned it a lot within meetings and conversations because I just thought that this was absolutely going to change everything that we did within our company and for a lot of different companies for that matter. Now, the reality, though, not everybody was so quick on the change bandwagon. Definitely had a few of those classes, and I'm definitely more on the early adopter stage, but, people would nod. They would say, okay, that's cool. And then nothing happened. Tools didn't get adopted, workflows didn't change, and enthusiasm definitely did not spread. So, as you would do as a leader, you kind of started to tell yourself a story. My team isn't ready. They're not resistant to change. I need to push harder. And that story definitely felt true. As it goes along, though, that was definitely wrong. And it was a wrong mindset to have. What story are you telling yourself? Before we go further, let's just take a quick moment to pause. AI adoption isn't happening as fast as you'd like it to go on your team. What story are you telling yourself about that and why? So the readiness, they don't have the skills yet, they're resistant, they're afraid of change. Their workload, maybe they're just too busy to learn. There is definitely a lot of different tools, large language models out there, different things that you can do within each set of those tools that have complementary things that work really well for each organization. But hold on to that thought. What I'm about to share might flip that story on its head. So this is the wake-up call that changed everything for me. Breakthrough came during a casual one-on-one instead of the usual, maybe response. We'll see how it goes. Just not quite sure yet. Response to some of my AI conversations, suggestions, things I'm using it for. Someone on my team actually, tried to level with me. Honestly, I don't know what you actually told me to use this tool for. You send these links to the tools, but I don't know what success looks like. And I'm worried that if I use AI for something and it goes wrong, that's going to reflect badly on me. And you know what? Kind of just stopped there and reflected for a moment very intentionally because That really did hit home. To me, I felt like I was advocating for AI without defining what I wanted people to do with it. I hadn't created any sort of safety net, for experimentation. No one knew if these tools were okay to use and, most importantly, fail with. I wasn't role modeling it effectively enough, in my opinion, for AI use in a way that could, see and learn from. I thought I was leading on AI and advocating for it, and I was actually just cheerleading for it. And to me, that felt like a massive difference. McKinsey's research confirms that AI high-performing companies share one trait: their senior leaders actively demonstrate ownership and role model the use of AI. Not recommend, not encourage, but actually physically show. My blind spot, my team didn't need any more links to tools. They needed to see me using AI in effective ways that were visible, transparent, and also safe to replicate. So the 3 shifts that fixed everything for me on this. These aren't too complicated. Here's exactly what I changed and what you can implement starting today. I started showing my work. Instead of polished AI outputs, I showed how I got there in these meetings. I used Claude to prep for this. Here's the prompt. Here's the scenario. Here's the experience. Here's what I used it for. Showing exactly what I did, how I used it, and what the outcomes were was completely different for me and my team. It demystified AI for intimidating my team members and gave everyone permission to use it imperfectly because they could see me using it imperfectly as well. I named specific use cases. You should try AI is useless advice. Instead, I tried to get more concrete and specific with my use cases. Instead, for the weekly inventory report, use AI to draft the summary section. Here's a prompt that works. Takes 30 minutes this week, and experiment. I don't care if the output is good. You can learn the process and you can reiterate it. So notice what is included there: the specific task, the specific tool, starting prompt, time box, explicit permission to fail. Gives you a little bit of these guardrails. I created safety for experimentation. I said out loud, I want you all to experiment with AI. Some experiments will fail. When they do, I want to hear about them. And I genuinely did. So we can all learn something from this. It's all a learning experience for us all, because we're all in this kind of figuring it out, what these can do and what the limits are of these tools. No one gets in trouble for trying something that doesn't work, but I really wanted to encourage them trying to get out there and try things, and try it just to have fun too as well. The truth, people fear looking stupid, being replaced, making noticeable mistakes. Your job is making experimentation safer than avoidance. So what shift would be hardest for you? Showing your messy process, revealing the imperfect work in progress that we just talked about, some of those scenarios, getting hyper specific, maybe, moving from vague encouragement to precise direction, creating psychological safety, explicitly permitting failure and learning. Most leaders, not most, but maybe, quite a few, struggle or get stuck on maybe a few of these. The question is, which one is holding you back from unlocking your team's AI potential? Or maybe it's something different from this, and I would like to hear that. So if you do have something different, let's hear about it in the comments. So the results of what actually happened for this. Within 60 days of making these shifts, real changes emerged, some expected, and obviously some were surprising. We had 3 times the AI tool usage. Team members actively bought into AI outputs to the meetings and shared their experience. 60% time saved, from 3 hours drafting reports to 45 minutes, freeing 2 hours plus for analysis, thinking, and creativity, and 100% quality improvement. Better work output as AI handled the grunt work or manual process and freed up cognitive, creative capacity. So the unexpected unlock, less assembly, more analysis, less formatting, more thinking, less grunt work, more strategy, and even, some feedback. Team members that I worked with pretty consistently said that freed up more than a few hours during their week for them to concentrate on other things that they could improve or get ready for as that week and month went on. So your competitive edge, most leaders are still in the cheerleading phase, blaming their teams, sending links without context. If you make these shifts, if you're automatically ahead, not because you have the better tools, but because you have figured out the human side of the equation, the 3 Ps framework for AI leadership. A simple filter to run every AI initiative through before blaming your team for being slow. Fix these gaps first. So permission. Have you explicitly given your team permission to experiment and fail? Not implied it, but said it out loud. Precision. Have you been precise about what you want them to use AI for? What specific task? What specific tool? What does success look like to you, and how can you model that for your team? Proof. Have you shown proof of your own AI use? Not told them, shown them. Shared your screen, walked through your process, been imperfect, and how it's helped you shore up processes and lead your team to better decisions and organizational growth? Run this through your current AI initiatives filter. I guarantee you're missing at least one, if not multiple, of these. I believe that if you can fix those gaps before you blame your team for being slow, that you can lead a better team and adopt AI better within your organization. The real AI adoption problem and why it's good news. AI adoption in most organizations isn't a technology problem or a workforce problem. To me, and at least in my experience, it's a leadership problem. I think that's actually good news because leadership is something that is in your control. That's one of your controllables. I spent more than a few weeks, more than a few months, thinking my team was the bottleneck. The moment I realized it was me, everything changed. Not because I became an AI expert. I still have plenty to learn, for sure. I'm not. Because I started leading differently. So the leadership shift that I think that you can implement, you're leading to role modeling from vague to precise, from judging to enabling, and from invisible to transparent. What does this mean for you? If you're a leader trying to make AI actually work in your organization, you're not alone. This is the real work. It is the intersection of AI and leadership from the inside arena. Same tools, different leadership, different results. Where to go from here? This is what I explore every week. Practical frameworks, real scripts, stories from inside real organizations within my own job and other people's jobs, navigating current AI transformation without the hype. For leaders who want to figure out AI by doing and not just reading about it. Your team isn't the problem. The gap between AI enthusiasm and AI adoption is a leadership gap. Close that gap and everything else follows from there. My name's Rob Ralph, and if you enjoyed this, you'll like some other videos that I have on fear and pushing through it, also along with Ikigai and finding your purpose in life. That's all I have for you guys. I hope that you all have a hell of the rest of your week.